me with the answer to that question. An Egyptian-American human rights activist and the director of Former Muslims United, Nonie Darwish, and the former Assistant Secretary of Defense under President Reagan and the President of the Center for Security Policy, Frank Gaffney, is here. Frank, as we go to this revelation, look, from their founding in 1928, and I was watching some other media tonight, they're not focused on the Muslim Brotherhood. And they're actually saying, no, this is a democratic effort. This is going to turn into a democracy. How naive can they be when the Muslim Brotherhood has been and continues to believe in Sharia law and jihad as a means to achieve their ends?
Yeah, you're so right, Sean. You know, we did a book last year on this very subject of Sharia, the threat to America, and indeed the threat to freedom more generally. I think it's really required reading if you want to understand what the Muslim Brotherhood is and what Sharia is all about. And, you know, it was interesting in those clips that you had, the president is incessantly using the word extremism or violent extremism. This is a euphemism. It is masking, not helping to clarify what it is we're up against. It's not extremists. It is those who adhere to Sharia. Nonie Darwish has experienced this firsthand. She has written brilliantly about it, and she can say even better than I that unless we're clear that the Muslim Brotherhood is the enemy, we are going to find not only Egypt succumbing to, I'm afraid, a very virulently hostile and dangerous program, but I'm afraid much of the rest of the region and perhaps freedom-loving nations elsewhere will be at risk as well.
Ms. Darwish, I was particularly upset, as I mentioned with Senator McCain tonight, that the president in his remarks, well, it's not up to us to push for leaders, you know, that's up to the people of Egypt. The people of Egypt, recent Pew poll, have a pretty low opinion of the United States in spite of our billions of dollars in aid, and he suggested tonight, the president, that include opposition leaders. The opposition here is the Muslim Brotherhood, a radical Islamic terrorist supporting group.
Yeah, the extremists who were in his audience were the Muslim Brotherhood. And the Muslim Brotherhood wants Sharia. There is a law in Sharia that states that a Muslim head of state can come to power through seizure of power, which means through force. That is categorically opposite to any kind of elections or democracy. And the Egyptian people don't understand that. They don't understand why they are living from one dictator to another. And this is it is because of Sharia. And it's very naive to think that if we just communicate with the Muslim Brotherhood, they're going to change all of a sudden and love us. They don't love us. Actually, their jihad, states tells them they cannot love us. It is part and parcel of their ideology. Yeah. Their emblem, Sean, has two swords and one verse from the Quran. The first word of that is called wa'iddu. It means, and prepare for them. Prepare terrorism for them. This is the one verse in the Quran that they chose.
The motto, even when Obama invited them to Cairo, their motto is Allah our objective, the Prophet our leader, the Quran our law, jihad our way, dying in the way of Allah our highest hopes. Their history is, Frank, they were responsible for the assassination of the Prime Minister in '48 and also Anwar Sadat back in 1981. Their leaders, their writings, original writings, influenced al-Zawahiri and Osama bin Laden. They were banned by the Mubarak government, but Obama invited them anyway. How are we to interpret that and his unwillingness to criticize him even this very night?
Well, I have to say,
for Frank Gaffney. Frank.
Yeah, as we point out in the book, Sean, what is going on here in part is that the Obama administration's policies are being viewed through and actually articulated and now implemented through influence operations that the Muslim Brotherhood itself is running in our own country. It's really extraordinary. The Justice Department has prosecuted some of these guys, and the Obama administration, and for that matter, the Bush administration before it, has been reaching out to some of these same organizations. You cannot possibly get your strategy right. You cannot execute it effectively if you don't know that the enemy is actually giving you advice on how to proceed. And this is I mean, I have to tell you, just this afternoon, had a confidential meeting with some senior conservative leaders to warn them about an influence operation against the conservative movement. They don't want to hear it either. This is endemic. We will not get this right if we don't understand the Muslim Brotherhood there and here is the enemy.
And I got to tell you, there are some conservatives that don't get it, and that is frightening too, and that's a story to be looked into. Guys, thanks for being with us.